Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Rob Wiles. Welcome back to another edition of Smells Like Hope. I got some pretty cool guests today, but before we get into that, we're going to pay a couple of bills. We'll be right back.
K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
I like that commercial, the last one, the Make Today Amazing bracelet. That's pretty awesome. Again, I'm Rob Wiles, your host of the Smells Like Hope podcast, bringing on my old buddies Vince and Jenna from the Back Porch Chats. And just before anybody asks me, hey, Rob, you're not stoned, are you? Why are you wearing sunglasses? Huh? I'm going to say, no, I got freaking drywall in my eye again. And I'll tell you, it burns like taking a Visine bottle full of acid. So I'm very light sensitive right now. So that's where we're at. Moving forward, Vince and Jenna from the Back Porch Chats. They're very cool. They have their own drug and alcohol addiction show, but it's got a whole different spin to it, which I found fascinating. We've done each other's shows before, but this is the first time we're doing video on my end. So why don't you give everybody the rundown of what we're working with here, guys?
You go.
You go. One of you go.
What are we working with? We do Back Porch Chats, and it's conversations of grace, hope, and recovery. Our mission is to create conversations in communities where people can talk about recovery and trauma.
And I'm Vince, and
damn right you are.
I've been Vince most of my life. Sarcastic, pessimistic, ever hopeful that things will get better. It's been 27 years since I was actively involved in drinking and drugging, but in that time that I have been sober, I have worked with a lot of people, sponsored people, done stuff like that, and just really gained a passion for helping other people learn how to be sober. It's kept me sober. And so that's kind of why I started Back Porch Chats with Gina.
Yeah, and to keep it, you got to give it away. I know it's a cliche, but it's really true, which is, why I'm doing the Smells Like Hope podcast. Actually, I'll tell you guys, about my past with my sister.
Yes.
We talked about that a lot last time. Well, she was actually on the show last week. She is 7 months clean now, living in a sober living place and getting all of her legals taken care of and reconnecting with the family. And that was awesome because it kind of backed up what I've always said on here about there is forgiveness out there and there is moving past that all the horrors of addiction. And I just kind of backed my play, and I dug that.
Yeah.
She can't.
Go ahead. Yeah, I just talked about sisters 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow, I lost my sister that's just right above me. I got 3 sisters, and you love your sisters. She was one of the main ones that was there for me in good ways and kind of bad ways. One of my chief enablers and that sort of stuff when I was out there drinking and drugging. But man, we get very close to our sisters, don't we, Rob? We love them.
Yes, sir.
It's always good when they are doing excellent stuff. So I'm glad for you with your sister. That's awesome.
And this is the 9th time she's taken a stab at recovery, but this time she's erased all of that, the stinking thinking and all that. It's everybody else's fault. And if this didn't happen, that would have happened. She's actually taking it all on and accepting her own responsibility. And like you guys know, I'm moving to Florida pretty soon, and I actually was going to take her with us, but she can't leave the state for another year. So we're going to get her on back down to our county and get her set up in a place and just kind of drag her to meetings and make sure my foot is deep in her ass going the right way.
Well, you know, I have in the time that I've been there, chronic relapsers that are it's been an issue. You know, they're close to my heart. It's what I love. I love to see people who struggle with this whole problem of addiction and work really, really hard at it. And I just like to remind them all the time that I know this sounds stupid, but we have to get better before we can get better. And it takes what it takes. And if it takes 9 times, if she's been retreated 8 times, and then this is the 9th time, she needed every one of those 8 times to be where she is today. You know, the only fatal mistake we make is to quit trying, to keep doing it, to keep coming at it. That'll kill us. But you know, it's just okay. Just keep coming back, keep doing the deal. It'll work.
Yeah, and I was writing this morning that I believe that the biggest thing that you need is the belief, you know, that you can get sober, that you are done drinking, that there's nothing in it that's good for you. I believe that that's one of the most important things. So she's got that stinking thinking out of the way, then she's covered half the battle, you know.
Well, I think that her big eye-opening experience was she always used rehab as a dodge, in my opinion. She said otherwise, but I always took it as a dodge. She would do it until things got comfortable again, then she would go back to her old behaviors. But this time, she spent almost a year living under a bridge. And then she decided to they took her to the hospital and they took her blood, and she was 3.5 was her limit, or was her percentage. And she went to the hospital because she spit in a cop's face. So they took her to the hospital, and she sat in a county prison for 6 months. And the judge was going to send her upstate. They're like, you know, I'd rather you have punched the cop than spit on him in a pandemic. The prosecutor, nobody gave a damn. She got a new prosecutor. Then the cop came in, and he was like, she's still in jail? We haven't sent her to rehab yet? And they said, no, we're sending her to prison. And the cop spoke for her. So she's sick. She needs help. Putting her in prison is not help. All you're doing is sending her to drug school.
But we talked about that the very first time we talked, in the idea of Rat Park and prison, you know, and punishing instead of providing a community and environment where you can feel not so much shame, and you know, that's so much better than prison. There's nothing to be gained that way, you know.
Especially an addict. You said an addict to prison, and like, what do you really think the end result is going to be?
Right.
I got a friend of mine who sometimes when you're talking about powerless and somebody doesn't understand this whole definition that we are powerless over alcohol, which basically means no matter what we think or what we try, discipline, education, none of that stuff works. But if you're struggling with powerlessness and you don't have an understanding of it, he always says, go slap a cop.
That's what she did. The cop, and as I understand it, the cop was just trying to get her straight, like, okay, you need to go to the hospital. And she just, and he said, okay, well, now you've got assault on a police officer. I mean, she had a felony charge. They dropped it down to a misdemeanor. So I say on here a lot, you know, the courts aren't in some big hurry to send addicts to prison because they know what's going to happen in prison. You're just going to drug school. You're just going to criminal school, and you're going to come out worse, so much worse than when you went in. But in this particular case, this judge had a hard on. This judge was pretty pissed off.
The court systems down here are down. We down in South Alabama down here, lower LA as we like to call it. They're starting to understand, and it's far cheaper and better for society and everything when us addicts and alcoholics when we get sober. So they're going to, down here, they'll give you a lot of chances. But when they're done with you,
Yeah.
you're going. When they're done, they done. You're just going to go. And sometimes as much as I hate it, the only thing that'll make us get better is those sort of consequences, you know.
Well, like I told you guys when we were talking last time, I had no idea that when my jacket came across my trial judges for the most recent arrest and going on the run and all that, her and the prosecutor already had it figured out that I was going away for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was because I showed up myself and I turned myself in, and then I showed up 9 months clean. They gave me the drug court option, which I just graduated.
Yay.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No sanctions, no nothing. It's over, finally. And that whole experience was fantastic. Gave me the motivation to really keep trying to help people who need it.
Good.
I made a joke. My contractor was helping me do my house. Now, we have freaking drywall dust everywhere. We lost control. We were doing some sanding today, and it got into a vent and spread all over the upstairs. And we walked out to one of the rooms, and I said, "Hey, looks like my apartment on a Friday night 4 years ago."
Yeah.
So what I dig about at least how you guys got started with the back porch was really diving into addiction and alcohol problems due to sexual abuse,
Yes.
Right.
which is huge, a huge issue. Some kind of trauma usually drives people to it, or guys like me who just thought that cocaine was a hell of a lot of fun. Went too far with it.
Well, there are many reasons why we do drugs and alcohol, and some of it is just fun. Starts out being fun. That's what we think. Entertainment, recreation, the crowd we hang around in and stuff. But sometimes there are these trauma, which childhood sex abuse is. I am a childhood sex abuse survivor, and it was right at the heart of why I drink and drug, was to run away from that, to cope with that, and to deal with that. And a lot of people that I have worked with have found that they relapse over, they get sober for a few months, only to relapse because they run into those issues, and because their main way of dealing with that, which is drugs and alcohol, is no longer with them. They have trouble dealing with it. And if they don't develop the skills and the community and that sort of stuff to deal with that sort of trauma, they're just going to return to that main tool, which is drugs and alcohol, over and over and over again. And that in itself becomes a vicious cycle of realizing that I got a problem, that I can't stop this, I need help, or go get help. But then here I start getting overwhelmed by these memories and emotions and feelings, and I don't know what to do about it. So eventually I just get to the place where I drink and drug again, because it's the only thing that worked. And we hear, a lot of times when we're out here drinking and drugging, earth people, as I say, or people don't understand, they'll say, just get over that. Just get over it. Just quit. Why don't you just stop? Or why
Just make the decision.
Yeah. Why don't you just have a beer and quit, And inside a lot of the rooms, the 12-step rooms that I go to and stuff like that, you still get, even though people understand this relationship that we have with drugs and alcohol, you still get that. Well, just get over the fact that you were sexually abused, just get over it, just deal with it. And we have to have help. We have to have help. We need to tell those stories and deal with that. And a lot of people who work with alcoholics, even professional therapists sometimes don't understand that. So that's been my passion, is to work with people and then work with other sponsors and stuff that do that. It's not brain surgery dealing with us. One of the main things that we need is just to have a safe place to tell our story and reduce the shame. And
some accountability, though. Somebody who can see right through the bullshit.
Well, yes.
The story about the abuse, though, that isn't the bullshit. Telling someone that no, I'm not drinking because I was abused, I'm drinking because it's fun. Now, that's the bullshit.
Right.
We get to the point where we're telling our story. That's not the bullshit, and we don't we don't need to be called out for that part of the story, because honestly, a lot of what we have is broken memories. I mean, there were years where I remembered nothing about the abuse, and then when I did, there were years that I spent agonizing over the fact that maybe there was more I didn't remember. And no one can call me on that bullshit, because honestly, I don't know. I know something happened. I know I have a clear memory of that day, but I don't remember a whole lot from that age time. It happened in kindergarten, and I never once remember going to school. I know I did. I went to school before in Indiana. I went to school after in California, and I remember both of those experiences, but I don't remember going to school in Kentucky, which is where it happened. And that's just really odd. Now how do you call me on that bullshit? I mean,
Well, hey, when I said call you on the bullshit, I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to the ones who were trying to get high or drunk under the radar, go to their groups a couple days later. Maybe they've been sober all day long, but they're grinding at the teeth to go get high again. That's that bullshit.
yeah, and I understand that, but the problem is as a sponsor who's not familiar with, who doesn't know how to talk, who doesn't know how to listen, is can pop in with that bullshit, thinking they're doing good, thinking that they're, what you need is tough love, but what you don't need is tough love. What you need is someone to listen. You've been beaten down. You've beaten yourself down all your life, and there are some instances where I don't believe tough love is the answer. But there are times, without a doubt, that I needed to be called on my bullshit. It's just, I was called on it at times when it did more harm than good, a lot more harm than good. And that's because of the abuse. But how do you know that if you don't know, you haven't been trained to deal with it?
I can't say that any kind of tough love is the right thing when you're dealing with addiction either, because you're right. Like I don't come from any background of abuse besides what I've done to myself, but if when I was trying to get clean, somebody was trying to hammer it down on me with their tough love, I'd probably go get high after I smacked them in the mouth. That's just not how you're going to get through to somebody who's traumatized.
No, we didn't. That kind of tough love doesn't work. Preaching, cajoling, that sort of stuff. Now, there are things that are, we can do stuff for somebody else that they ought to be doing for themselves. One of the, when we call it that enabling. And that's one of the things that happens with alcoholics. Sometimes we think we're helping and that we're being kind and gentle, and we're buying them groceries or paying their rent or bailing them out of jail, or just softening those consequences. And there's the only thing that most of us will ever really react to is those kind of consequences. That's why the judge who says, hey, you're on your last deal, you're going to 20 years if you don't, and you show up and say, hey, I got it this time, and they give you another chance, but that you got to pull that leash in that way. And that's just kind of what I heard you about the bullshit is. This thing about childhood sex abuse is like the people I deal with. Yeah, that happened, and I'm sorry that happened. And as a kid, it wasn't your fault. But now as an adult, it's your responsibility to heal from it. It's your responsibility. Don't lay around and use that as an excuse, poor me, or to get attention. You need to do the things that you need to do. I'm a big believer in the 12 steps, and the people that I work with, one of the first things we do is get into 12 steps. And that's not about beating somebody up, and you can do the 12 steps the wrong way. That's just about accountability. It's just about what are you doing to avoid responsibility and to be accountable. Now, I'll call people on that bullshit all day long. Don't wallow in the pig shit and expect me to get down there with you and smell it. Get yourself up out of the pig shit and walk over here and take a shower and dry off, and now we can do something about it. So I know that's a lovely analogy there. Sorry.
It's pretty goddamn fitting, though.
Yeah.
I've found myself, wavering in as far as calling people out on their use on some of these old head wrestlers, that I used to be on the road with. And I've heard so many of them say, oh, I've just been using for so long and I'm so close to the end, I'm not even going to bother quitting. And you hear that enough times, even me, I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. But then I had Jake the Snake on the podcast about a month ago.
Yeah.
And he was 10 years. He's 10 years clean now. And he's been such a huge supporter of my sobriety and trying to get out there to the other guys. He took Scott Hall, who was another just chronic abuser of anything he can get his hands on. And Scott's looking at 10 years clean. And you see that, you go, oh, man, that motivates me because those are two guys you never thought would live. And now look at them.
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of miracles in this recovery field.
Sure.
And it's wonderful. If there's a lot of people out there that need recovery, you'll even run into a lot of people that won't recovery. Their addiction has caused them to become desperate. But all of that's not enough, Rob. All of those three things, needing it and wanting it and being desperate, that's not enough. You got to be desperate enough to work it. And I've seen a lot of people get beat down and get a little bit better and things get going good again. And then they forget they got help or I got it now, or I got a plan, or their life is crap and poop, but they're okay with it. They would rather drink and drug and stay right there with it. You can't help anybody like that. You just can't help them. It breaks your heart. And you say there's a better way. You don't have to do it that way. But, you can't help somebody that likes the pig shit and wants to stay in it. Can't help them. Sorry.
I'm going to have to start putting that in the catch title of the show. Stay away from the pig shit.
Yeah, that's it.
Or at least take a shower first.
Yeah, right. Well, and don't get down in there with them.
Yeah.
That's helping them. Stay out. Stay on the bank. I
had heard an analogy similar like that. Then, where's your rock bottom? You're going to dig a hole. Well, there is no bottom when you're digging. What you need is someone to come along and take a hand and pull you out, but if they get in that hole with you, then you got two people in the hole. And
then you just don't have any space and you're getting on each other's nerves. I told my sister, you keep telling me you hit this rock bottom, and you haven't hit rock bottom because your family's always been there to hold you up while you're playing your sobriety game. Now you're at rock bottom. Now if you fuck up for the next year, you're going to prison for 2 years. Now there's actual accountability. And that's what it took for me. Like, I needed real accountability. Yeah. I say that, but that might not be so much true because I did have that moment of clarity where I wanted to be done. And I called for help as soon as I wanted it. And I got into rehab like the next day, amazingly enough. And I wasn't sitting in a jail cell going, oh, man, when I get out, I'm only going to use a couple of times and I'm going to go to rehab.
Right.
No, I was looking at this big, fresh, huge, expensive bag of Coke and plunk right in the toilet. I was done with it.
Oh, that's an amazing story, Rob. I love that story. They, there's the phases in every addict's life. A, he realizes that he's got a problem, or her. B, they come up with a plan to do something about it. Normal people don't have to control their alcohol consumption or their drug consumption.
Right.
And if you're in the process where you're thinking that I'm going to have to control it, then you've got a real problem. You're probably an addict and alcoholic, because only addicts and alcoholics have to control their drinking. A normal person that drinks a glass of wine and says, oh, wow, I feel that's enough. Or they order the second one, then halfway through they stop drinking.
Right.
And you never understood those weirdos, that's just so beyond me. But they realize they got a problem. They come up with a plan, and then they work the plan.
Right.
But the plan might be bullshit. And then they do that over and over again. They might decide, oh, my problem is I drink vodka, so my plan is I'll just drink beer. and then they'll go just drink beer, and they'll work that plan, and they'll keep cycling through and cycling through. But a lot of times we get stuck at the fact that I got a problem, I got a plan, but we never ever work the plan. Yeah. You know, especially a plan that works. You know, and in trying to figure that out, the plan by ourselves and all that gets really, really problematic. But that's what I saw. You know, you realized that you had a problem. I did too, long before. And you had some different plans and stuff, but you finally got a plan that was going to work. But even that took you a little while, took you a few trips through. And then
you know, that wasn't even, I didn't even have a plan. Mm-hmm. I just, like, you guys know as well as I do that everybody in their like full blown we're using knows, like, I'm really close to death. Like, it's coming.
Right.
So in my moment of clarity, I didn't have a plan. I just threw out a lifeline and said, somebody help me. I didn't know what to do. Mom picked me up and she goes, well, what about rehab? I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get into rehab. I don't have that kind of insurance. And she's the one who formulated, let's go to Gateway. Let's talk to a counselor. Let's see what they could do for you. And when I walked in, they said, what are your goals? I said, I just don't want to do this anymore. This isn't working for me anymore.
Yeah. But see but that's kind of what I'm talking about with a plan.
Well, or there's the plan to keep drinking, but to do it with moderation. I mean, that's the big plan. For me, it was like, well, you know, if I can control how much I have available, I'll be okay. Because my problem is not that I'm an alcoholic. My problem is that once I've had one, I can't quit. Well, what is the definition of an alcoholic? You can't have, you know, just one. Yeah, that I was defining it in my plan to control it. I was defining myself as an alcoholic and saying I'm not. You know, and that's the plan that you know, it's the plan to drink in moderation, and we just can't do it. I wasn't able to drink in moderation. I'm still not able to drink in moderation. Not that I've tried, but I'm not going to try because I'd hate to find out that, no, I can't drink in moderation. I tried, you know.
But and see, I kind of what I'm relating to, and not to contradict you as I contradict you, but you know, your plan was to go to rehab.
Yeah.
You knew you needed it, and you know, and you became willing to go and all that stuff. But then you worked it. Then you actually did it. Now, did
you know you're really bad off when you were actually talking to your drugs, saying, I'm not going to do any of you today. Yeah. I'm just going to sell you.
That's a plan.
Then all of a sudden I'm doing these unconscious key bumps, and I said, son of a bitch.
That's right.
That was the last straw. I can't do this.
You had a plan and you couldn't work it.
And that plan didn't work.
That plan didn't. That's what I'm saying. You keep trying plans of, hopefully you and I and Gina, we have found a plan that's working so far. It worked today, you know. So
well, I'll tell you, I've always wondered, like, what would happen if I ran into some of those old running buddies, cokeheads, or if I was in front of a line. You know, I'd be okay. But then as I was gutting rooms out of my house, I found one of my old bags of Coke. Still had Coke in it.
How do you not know that the Coke is there? I mean, I found bottles, but they were all empty.
Well, because I was kind of a baller, man. I had a lot of Coke all the time. But I found it, picked it up, and man, my mouth started watering. I was like, oh shit, right to the toilet, boom, go before I even give myself a second to think about it. So when you start wondering, like, getting complacent kind of, oh, you know, maybe I got this under control, you come across that, nope. That was not a good. And then I spent like the next couple hours shaking it loose, getting over what had just happened.
I was probably about 20, 21 years sober, hadn't had a drink. And I used to ride horses, and I got thrown from a horse and I broke my clavicle and had surgery, and they put a plate in it up here and everything. And it was really, really painful. Broke a couple of ribs about the same time all that went on. So, and narcotics wasn't around 27 years ago when I got sober like it is today. So, right. So I took some Percocet, doctor prescribed and everything, to sleep. And so I did that. And I took I started off with 5 milligrams, and stayed with the sponsor and taught my sponsor and everybody. And it was no big secret, and so I did that. And then all of a sudden, 5 didn't work, and I had another doctor did 10. So I got my 10 script filled, and I started doing 10. And then I found myself doing, well, I got a 10 and a 5, and I found myself doing a 10 and a 5. And then I realized what the hell I was doing. There it was again, the addict in us never, ever dies. I had to flush those Percocets down the toilet before I got in a real big problem with them. And I cried. And here's a guy who's got a bunch of years of sobriety from alcohol and other sort of stuff that, once again, found himself falling in love with drugs in spite of the consequences. That's just what we do. But I had that moment of clarity, and I come up with a plan of flushing them down the John, and I followed my plan.
I tell you, man, that toilet has saved a lot of lives.
Yes, it has. It has.
They call it the sewer for a reason, man. You put that garbage in the sewer because people don't even realize how toxic it is. Even just your weekend warriors, they have no idea what kind of damage to their body they're actually doing with coke.
Oh man, and coke I did a lot of coke in my day, and I would do it. And today I would not tempt fate. If somebody was doing coke in a room, not only is it illegal, I don't need that part, but I would leave because I just don't know how I would do in that situation. It still calls my name, Rob. Still calls.
Oh, sure. Name. Sometimes, I mean, I think I act like I have it under control until I found that bag. But I'll admit that, like, I see it on movies sometimes, and I start like sniffing, or itching a little bit, and, like, oh shit, I'm gonna turn this movie off.
Yeah. But you recall from it like a hot flame.
Sure.
Some of the literature that's the 12-step literature talks about that if you stay in recovery and you follow these spiritual principles, you'll find yourself that you'll recoil from it like a hot flame. And that's great. I don't want to tempt that. I don't want to go, oh, let me see if I'm going to recoil like a hot flame. That's just part of that craziness.
Yeah, like one time Jake, the snake, talking to me on the phone goes, I don't know, buddy. Sounds like you're kind of turning into the C word. I went, Jesus, Jake. He goes, no, complacent. Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hey, take it easy, pal. Take it easy. And it really sucks when you look back and you see how much damage you did to those people who really care about you. But then it kind of evens out in the wash when they all tell you, they're proud of you. They knew you could do it, or they are glad you did, or whatever they say to kind of build you back up because they're getting their own feelings out. They need to get out. With me and Chris, my one of my two very best friends, we've talked a few times since I've gotten right about how much hell I put him through just on the phone. Like, oh, I'm destined for prison or the wrong side of the law. It's just what it is. And there was no talking me out of it. Yeah. I just had that ding. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I got to get help. I got to reach out now or I won't.
Yeah. And you did. And that's what we do. And so for those of us that reach out, whether we find the help in a 12-step group such as Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous or Cocaine Anonymous or through church or just however we find the help that we did, if we reach out, that's the step. That's that first step. We can't do it by ourselves. We need help. And when we reach out, there's help out there and things get better. And there is hope. Doesn't mean it's not a struggle and it's not hard work and that there won't be withdrawals and stuff. But, you got to realize you got a problem and start seeking help.
I'd rather smell hope than coke. Because I'll tell you, man, sometimes, I don't have them very often anymore, but sometimes I still have those drug dreams and I'll wake up from them and I'll smell it.
That's your t-shirt right there, Rob.
My t-shirt. I'd rather smell hope than coke.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Maybe I should put dope instead to be more universal.
Yeah. Well, you need more than one t-shirt. You can do that one.
You're right. I do. And that's another reason I really dig this podcast. It's really We have a question here from Adam Barber. He said, "What is the hardest part of trying to become clean?" You guys want to field that?
What for you?
Yeah. What was for you?
The admitting that I had a problem that I couldn't handle by myself, what we just talked about. Admitting, I mean, I always, for years and years and years, I got this. I'm not the problem. My drinking's not a problem, or my drugging's not a problem, or acting out, messing around with women, the problems that I had in my life, realizing that I needed help. You heard my story and stuff, and I lost my career. I lost a great career. I lost all that stuff, and I didn't have a problem. I could handle it. I could do it. I could fix it, So admitting I got a problem is done. The actual withdrawal, the thing that I dread the most, withdrawing from alcohol and drugs and all that sort of stuff, the physical withdrawal, that's actually fairly easy. It's painful at the time, but you get over that and that goes away.
Couple days, yeah.
Yeah, that goes away. But then and I guess the second hardest part, I mean, there's several hardest parts, is dealing with that part of my brain that rationalizes and justifies and returns me to that crap over and over and over again. It makes it seem like my consequence forgetter. I forget that what life is like,
Now that's your T-shirt, my consequence forgetter.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then on the back, put something about pig shit.
Yeah, pig shit. The thing that about this program also is that I do a lot of 12-step meetings and stuff, and I'm not promoting that as the way. It's just the way that I did it, and you got to find a way, whatever it is. It didn't have a lot of residual value for me. Well, what the hell does that mean, Vince? What I mean by that is my sobriety will last about 24 to 48 hours at the beginning, and then I had to go to a meeting, go to a group, do something about it over and over and over again. I didn't stay, if you do chemotherapy, hopefully your cancer will be gone one day and you won't have to do chemotherapy anymore. I've always had to apply the cure to my disease, which is community, 12-step works, working with others, doing the thing over and over and over again for 27 years. I've had to do it because I have a forgetter that forgets, and I got this, and I get in trouble all over again. So today I've done this 27 years, and I'm good for about 2 weeks, Rob. I'm serious as a heart attack. About 2 weeks, in about 2 weeks, the insanity starts to return, and those famous words, "I got this," right before, down here in the South, we got that. "Hey, watch this, hold my beer. I got this," all those statements. So.
What about you, Gina?
For me, it depends. Before September 2nd or after September 2nd. Before September 2nd, it was admitting that I had a problem. And on September 2nd, I woke up and just, I don't know what it was, but I knew I couldn't do it anymore. I knew, and that was it. I didn't have a problem not drinking after that. But the hardest part after that was facing all the damage I had done. I had to face my daughter, who I hurt quite a bit. I had to face the fact that I had ruined my marriage. I had also was a college professor, and I had ruined my career. In my hangover, I had a major contract with a $3 billion company, top 3 in the world of consulting agencies, and I couldn't finish the contract. And it was deadline time, and I had to face these things. And then of course I had my abuse that I didn't think was going to be a problem. It hasn't been a problem, but I've had to again face it. I had in this past year, my dad died. The hardest thing though was that I, for the first time, had to face my son's death sober. I had been drinking. I'd been going to sleep at night, and my routine was to take my sleeping pill and a shot of vodka, go to the bathroom. I have about 10 minutes to get to bed. And if I'm not there by 10 minutes, I'm asleep on the floor. Well, I couldn't do that anymore without drugs and alcohol. And I was fine doing it, but it means that now occasionally I cry and I feel really deeply, where before I could use alcohol to kind of cut that out. I don't know. Once you get so drunk, the feeling is so intense, but with the clear head, it's very different, you know, and I feel the shame of not being able to be there for him now. And I did not feel that when I was drinking. I just felt poor me. And there's a lot different about that feeling.
Adam, real quick to answer that question, do you have to change friends because influence? The big saying is you got to change people, places, and things for that very reason. You know, back when I was selling it, I had, you know, dozens and dozens of friends. And now I have Chris and Doug, and that's it. And I'm very content with it being that way. I didn't have any problem admitting my shortcoming. I knew what it was. I knew what it was for years. The hardest part of trying to get clean was just remembering what my life was before the drugs.
Yeah.
That was it, because, you know, every memory that I have is either a normal everyday memory or very coated with piles of white powder.
Right.
And that's something I still deal with. There's a lot of memories I'm sure that I'm blocking out because I don't want to remember what kind of dirtbag I was for a while. But to go back to that, yeah, people in your drug circles, they're not your friends. They're enablers, they're clients, they're users, they're whatever. They're no bueno. So yeah, you definitely have to change your hangout spots, the people you knew, things that you had in that life that would trigger you. All that shit's gotta go, man. You gotta just turn the page. You gotta open a different book, actually, not even turn the page. Throw that book in the fucking fire. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and when I'm working with somebody early on and they say that, a lot of times, you know, what we fight and what we push against will grow and grow. Sometimes I just say, well, how about right now? Can you just stay away from for 6 months till you get better on this alcohol? Can you just do that? And I can't tell you over and over and over again, by the time they stay away from 6 months, and it was true for me, you realize that they, like what you just said, they really are not that.
Yeah.
They're not as good a friend as you thought they were. They're friends to the drugs.
Right.
You know, nobody's friends with each other in those environments, hardly ever. You're friends with the drugs. You're friends with that activity and what goes on. And you remove that activity, then you no longer have stuff in common with them.
Yeah, as soon as the bag is gone, suddenly everybody's got to go home.
Right. Yes.
For me,
where they have their own bag hidden away.
Right. Yes. I do yours doesn't mean we're going to do mine, but I definitely help you with yours.
I absolutely had no friends. I was unlikable. I didn't like people. I didn't want to be around people. I wanted friends. I would continue to go out thinking, okay, I'll meet someone tonight. I'll find friends. But I had none. I had no one I could count on to sleep on a couch. I had no one I could ask for, $20. I had no one that I anticipated calling me. My phone never rang. Never. It still doesn't, but in a different way. It never rang with someone calling me up to say, hey, Gina, you want to go bowling? Or, hey, Gina, would you like to go to the beach today? It never, ever rang. And it was a lonely place to be. So giving up friends wasn't difficult because I didn't have any. Now that I'm sober, I'm still kind of a loner, but at least I have people I can count on, people I can call and say, hey, let's go have coffee. And they do exist where they didn't before at all.
Then Rob, what we gain, what we don't realize is we look at what we're going to lose if we give up drinking and drugging. And that's real. We have to do those losses. But I had no idea at that point what I was going to gain. Mm-hmm. And what I've gained today is in my life, I've got several friends, not just one or two, several friends that know a lot about me. know where all the bodies are buried, know all the different stuff about me, and they still like me. And I can go to them and expose my worst character defects and everything, and they go, yes, me too. And I have really true friends now, these close over the years. So I lost some pseudo friends, but I thought were real friends, and I had no idea of what I was going to gain. So it's a little easier for me to say, yeah, give up your old playmates and your old playgrounds and that sort of stuff. But to somebody who doesn't know what there is out there to gain, that gets kind of hard. I mean, I think about you, Rob. You and I, because of this drinking and drugging, we've had some great conversations and some great times, just talking and experiencing. And I wouldn't have got to know you. And if you and I had done cocaine together, as soon as yours is gone, I'd have left. We wouldn't have had what we have today. That connection. We have a real connection today that we're able to have because of where we are. So I don't know.
What I'm going to say to that is, mine never ran out, so you never would have left.
Then you're a lifetime buddy.
That's right. Just sit here for 3 days. We'll pass out and get down on it. What exactly is a sponsor, Adam asks? I have been confused about that. I'll let you guys field that one too, since you're heavy in sponsorship work.
Well, yeah, sponsor is that is something that's directly out of a 12-step program. Okay, it's definitely something. If you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, a CA meeting, you hear about a sponsor. Okay. The heart of those programs are the 12 steps, all right, that was generated in the middle 30s by Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, the guys that started
Dr. Bob.
Right, Dr. Bob. And they are a spiritual principle that a lot of people find that work. And I'm not going to sit here and go through all of those. The problem with the 12 steps is, I remember the first time that I went to a meeting and I saw the 12 steps and I went through them up there, and I had worked like 11 of them in the first 15 minutes, and didn't realize what the big deal was.
I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah. Where's the merit badge? Can I get my certificate and quit coming now?
Let's go for a drink.
Yeah, let's go for a drink. But a sponsor is somebody who has worked the steps, and they help you work the steps. They help you with tough love, soft love. They help you with your delusion, and delusion just means where I'm making stuff up. So my world kind of makes sense to me, but it doesn't make sense because I'm making stuff up. They help us with those kind of delusions and stuff, and it's a partnership where they take us through the steps, and they share their experience, strength, and hope with getting sober and what the steps has done. So that's kind of what a sponsor is. I hope that answers his question. But the sponsor is that first one-on-one contact for me, that where I really reached out for help, where I really said, hey, I know I can't figure this out by myself. I can't do this anymore. But I see that you got it figured out. And I see that you've put together a fairly decent life. Tell me how you did that. And then
that's the biggest thing I wanted to bring up on the sponsorship angle is any idiot can work the steps. Any idiot can go through all 12 to say, okay, I'm done. Now I'll be your sponsor. But you want to pick somebody who has something that you want. Just like life, you don't pick a friend because you think that they're so much beneath you. You pick a friend because they complement something. You see somebody who's got 10 years clean. You want that 10 years. Well, how did you do it? Help me to do it. Because then you've got some sponsors who are just have no business trying to help guide somebody onto a better road.
You want that's so key, and that's so important. And people say, how do you choose a sponsor? Well, you got to go around where 12-step meetings then they happen in church and all other places, and find somebody who's done what you want to do, and ask them how they do it, and become willing to do it that way. You can, if it doesn't work for you, you can stop and find another way and another sponsor another way. But I can't give away. We can't give away what we don't have, Rob. And if somebody doesn't have it,
Yeah.
they can give it away to me.
There was a few weeks ago with somebody who was just brand new. I mean, brand spanking new. Listened to me speak, and he approached me and goes, so how much would it cost for you to be my sponsor? And I said, cost? Because wasn't that what it's about? Or do you pay for something like a big book? And I'm like, okay, let's go sit down and talk about this. I mean, I'm not going to sponsor anybody personally, but I'm also going to know if I see somebody picking up some sponsor who I don't even think is clean, I'm gonna say something to him.
Yeah, it's there. Just because somebody's going to a 12-step meeting doesn't mean that they're a winner. We have winners and losers within those meetings, and you got to be careful. And if you're looking for a reason for that not to work, if that's what you'll find. If you're looking for the reason for it to work, guess what? You're going to find that, So
Yep. But it was funny to me that he immediately went monetary on it because he was thinking like, oh, you're like a soccer team sponsor, right? No, come on. This is English. This is America, damn it. We use all kinds of the same words for different shit.
Yeah. Oh, that guy. Yeah, and that's fine. I work with people because it keeps me sober, Rob.
Yep.
I work. People don't understand this, but I work with the most self-centered thing that I do today in my recovery world is work with others. And then people go, what? A lot of people say self-centeredness and spit it out that it's a bad thing. But I work with others because it keeps me sober, period. That's why I do it. I don't do it to keep somebody else sober. And if they stay sober, good for them. They're responsible for that part. But I just keep trying to give it away so I can keep it. And
right, because there's something in it for you, just like every aspect of life.
Sure, absolutely.
You don't benefit from something. It's like people aren't going to slam a hammer into their hand because they're not getting anything from that except pain, hospital trip, big bill, or they'll get drugs. That's my big problem too. Is these doctors? I mean, they've been hammered on, so bad that they're not throwing out pills as regularly as they used to, but they still are. And there's got to be more accountability, I think, than is out there. But I'm not going to get up on a political soapbox about that.
No, let's don't do that. Lord have mercy. You ain't got enough. There's not enough tape in the camera for us you and I to get on soap opera.
All right. Yeah. So I dig what you guys do. It's too bad you're off doing your own thing, where I try to hustle you up here on my network too. You guys got a good thing going over there. Gina, you're doing some kind of online speaking.
Yeah. Yesterday,
is that right?
Yesterday I did a panel. I was on a panel for, oh gosh, I forgot what it's called. It was a women's summit.
Okay.
Celebrating Mother's Day, and so I was able to speak on that, and I talked about trauma and handling trauma and stress as a mom, which felt really weird because I'm a mom, but I'm not a mom in the sense that my kids are home and I'm taking care of them. My daughter's almost 29, almost 30 years old now. So I didn't feel like a mom, but it really was a great opportunity to talk about some of the things I did when they were growing up to handle stress and some of the traumas that I had gone through. And one of the things that we talked about in it was, how do you know when your children are going through trauma? And so I had an opportunity to talk about that because as you know, my son suffered from depression. And so,
right.
How do you identify when that happens, when that's going on with your child? So that's what I did yesterday. And I had such a really good experience with that. I'm looking forward to doing more. The day my son died, because he was born with a birth defect that impaired his ability to speak and to hear, I spent many, many years advocating for him, trying to get surgeries, trying to talk to the teachers, okay, look, he will not talk to you, but he can hear you, sort of, kind of. So you got to look at him in the face because he's reading your lips. And so I had to do all that kind of stuff. And the day he died, I remember saying, who will I speak for now? And it immediately hit me, more than ever, it's important that I speak for him now. So, I try to involve myself in things that I can, with mental depression, mental illness, depression, suicide, and then, of course, the alcohol and trauma addiction connection. So that's what I did yesterday, was talk about that.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
actually have taken my pet project too. I've got a real soft spot about cancer with losing my dad to that not too long ago. And I recently found, and since I have the microphone right now, recently discovered this charity. It's called Wrestlers for Warriors, and it's pro wrestlers donating items, doing live events, doing whatever we can do to raise money to help these, and they're for kids. So to help
Right.
these kids with their treatments, help their families get more awareness, get more research done. Because, man, I mean, if we can get AIDS under control, certainly we got to be able to get cancer under control. This is ridiculous. But my buddies do this website called Fan Room Live, where they'll have celebrities come on, and then people will, buy an admission ticket basically to get online and connect with them and actually have a one-on-one conversation with whatever celebrity that they're on with that day. And they recently had Paul White, used to be called Big Show in WWF, WWEFG, whatever. But this guy was telling Paul about his charity that he brought on this kid from London who's sick.
Mhm.
And the kid said to Paul, we sure like that shirt you're wearing to auction it off. Or we sure like that shirt to auction it off. And he goes, "Oh, you mean my new line of shirts? Yeah, I can send you some of those." He goes, No, that shirt. He said, "This shirt?" And the kid said, "Yeah." So he goes, "All right." He took his shirt off because I'm going to autograph this, put it in the mail tomorrow. And Paul White is one of the nicest human beings on the planet. But I was like, man, that motivated me. So I sent them out a big gold WCW belt autographed by The Undertaker with certificate of authenticity. And I sent the kid in London actually a belt too.
Good.
So we're trying to get some awareness built up for that.
And you know what? That right there is the miracle of what, you're giving up with cocaine and stuff. What am I going to fill it with? What I'm going to change? And that's that heart right there, Rob. We discover that we have a heart. We get filled up with that kind of compassion.
We remember that we had a heart.
And if you were doing cocaine, there would not be any room for that sort of stuff.
No.
Probably in your heart. You know what I'm saying? And, and that's the thing that I like to remind people in this sobriety journey. Yeah, you're going to give up stuff. But if you're brave enough and have enough courage to give that up and move forward, what's going to fill in the vacuum is going to be better than what you ever done. You know,
absolutely.
You feel better about yourself in that program and what you're doing, Rob, than cocaine ever made you feel.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the thing about cocaine is it makes you not feel.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Yes.
And sometimes not feeling people think is better than anything. But I remember when I was sitting in rehab and I was there for, the 28 days. And I was probably in my third week there. There was this guy who just started bawling, like all this stuff. And this was at mealtime. This wasn't even a group.
Yeah, I got you.
He was just sitting there eating with us and minding his business. He just started bawling. I was like, all right, come here. He's like, what? You need a hug? And he's like, no, I don't need a fucking hug. Yeah, you do. I gave him a hug. He started crying even harder.
Yeah.
He said, when am I going to get to where you're at? I said, day after tomorrow.
That's
I don't know, man. Just let it out. And that's something that if I was using, I'd have been like, okay, this guy's crying. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes, and I can't quote it. Ayn Rand said that this is not a direct quote, but she said in a Playboy interview, that man without purpose has room for evil. Evil can set in. And I roamed around for about 10 years without any sense of purpose, while I was drinking. And some of the worst things happened because of it. And when I quit drinking, almost immediately I found purpose. I found, that I wanted to help other people, and that I needed to use my experiences with trauma, with alcohol, with my son's death, as a purpose, and that has been so amazing for me. It's given me direction, it's given me clarity, it's given me focus, and that's what you're doing as well. Who'd have thought that when you were in the height of your cocaine that you become an ordained minister?
Not this guy.
No.
Not unless I thought I could get some kind of a good dodge out of it, but no, not this guy.
Yeah.
See, one of
But
those.
I never would have thought I would do any of the work I'm doing for people's recovery. I was all about me.
Yeah, I have this kind of podcast. See, and one of the things you might gain if you did in recovery is you might end up with a girlfriend that quotes Playboy magazine.
I saw you. I saw that when she said, "It's like, yeah, attaboy."
Yeah,
Good for you.
That's my girl.
But then it makes me think. I wonder if that's where the quote, the saying, "the evil that men do," comes from. That kind of basic mindset.
Yeah,
Is idle hands, the devil's work, the evil that men do, and as you think about it, most of the evil you hear men do, very rarely is it really from some kind of mental illness, from some kind of a substance.
yeah.
I would say that quote is way before Ayn Rand. I think this was a 1976-75 interview, and that idea is really, really old. The evil that men do. Yeah.
Even though, let's be honest, it's not all men. I mean, Cleopatra was a woman.
Oh, you don't even know the evil I do.
So was Delilah. I'm just saying. Bring me the hair of Samson.
That's what happened to me.
Did she do it though?
Yeah. To bring my hair to Gina. Yeah. So.
What's up, Brandon? One of my buddies, one of our hosts on the network here. He's got his own show. He says hello to you guys too. I don't know. Can you guys see that when it comes up on the screen on your end?
I'm too far away to read it. So.
All right.
Yes, I can see it, but I have to squint. So if you see me doing that.
Well, you see how close up to the monitor I am because I don't have my regular glasses on. I got these on because of the yet another drywall incident.
Oh, hey, Gina, it's Rob. Look.
Where?
Yeah, right there. There he is.
Hey, that guy. Oh, this has been a good time. Brandon. We're coming up to the end of our time. You guys got any parting words of wisdom to share? Plug your net podcast. Plug anything you want.
Backporchchats.com. We got some podcasts out there. We just had over 500 downloads. We've been doing it about 5 months now. We appreciate the support and people reading and passing the word around. I just got 27 years that I just love to talk about. I love this program. So any love and support or whatever they want to do there, that's great. Backporchchats.com with an S.
Actually, in 9 days, I'm hitting my 3 years.
9 days, 3 years for you. That's so awesome, Rob. That's just a miracle. That's
I never thought I was going to make it 3 months when I was using, and just the ludicrous idea of quitting when I was just in full blown go mode. I was like, if I do quit, I'm only going to make it a couple months, just enough for an oil change, so I can get high cheaper again.
Well, another one of my goofy sayings that I like to say is 3 years is longer than 27 years. I mean, the early years, they feel longer. You're going to jump down and turn around, and it'll be 10 and then 15. Trust me.
Jump down and turn around.
Yeah, but 3 years is that's awesome. That's a long time not to do drugs and alcohol for an addict. That's awesome.
And I'm very grateful that I had drug court there, just to help kind of make sure everything went well. I mean, anybody who's listening, drug court, like, don't listen to the jailhouse fucking lawyers. Those people are in jail because they're as dumb as you are to end up in jail. They don't know shit. Anybody tells you the drug court is a con, is fucking stupid. If you are ready for the change, it can be there for you. And they tell you, okay, you can plead into drug court and we'll take you and you'll fuck up and we'll give you another chance. You'll fuck up 3 times and we'll still help you out. But eventually, your original sentence is going to hit you right across the face. And if you think it ain't going to happen because your judge is so goddamn nice, it will happen. But you got to try really hard to get kicked out of drug court.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine, a guy that I'm working with. He's been around. Just picked up his year chip yesterday, and he was talking about going into drug court and a little while ago, and a little over a year ago, and he was up in front of the judge, and he'd already been taught all this 12 steps and all that sort of stuff, going to the AA and that sort of stuff. And he walked up to the judge and said, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And the judge said, okay. He said, I'm glad you're being honest with me and open with me. He said, that'll be 5 years in prison. Bang the gavel. All of a sudden he's going, oh, whoa, wait, whoa.
I was just playing with you. Come on, Judge. You slappers.
Yeah. So a year later, he hasn't had any drugs or alcohol for a year, and he's telling that story. And I'm grateful that the judge said, no problem. You don't have to.
That'll be 5 years.
It'll be 5 years.
That's wild. Yeah, we should definitely come back for a drug court episode one of these days because, man, I've seen some just absolutely bonkers shit. I saw a dude that I knew pretty well from rehab who got popped for a piss test in court, and he came up hot for alcohol. And he was just so nonchalant. Oh, my boss showed up with a couple of 12 packs. So I had a couple of beers, and the judge is like, what? Just like that? You just had a couple of beers, even though you're here because you're a drug addict and alcoholic, and you think it's okay? So he sent him up for 6 months, and that doesn't happen. Like your first couple of offenses, you got to really push for 6 months before you're cut out and sent to prison. But judge's like, oh no, you're not just going to spit in my face and tell me sorry it's raining. You're going to jail.
Yeah. This guy had felony type activities on him for 5 years, and they were still giving him a chance. You know what I mean?
This is my 3rd conviction.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I understood, because I talked to my old public defender not too long ago, which I couldn't believe he did so well for me. But he said, yeah, you came in and you said, you've been clean for 9 months now and you're here to plead guilty and face your charges. But the thing that made them give you drug court was you asked me to ask them if there's any way to prove yourself or hang yourself. And that's exactly what drug court is. This is your last chance.
Yeah.
Prove yourself or hang yourself, and they will give you plenty of rope. But when they finally pull the slack in, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's the neck breaker.
Yeah,
they just pop and you're done. So we're gonna have to wrap it up. We're gonna have to do this again soon.
Love it anytime.
So for Gina and Vince for the Back Porch Chats, and of course the Wild Thing, Rob Wild's here at Smells Like Hope. Thanks for joining us again. We'll see you next time, but I'm going to do what drives my tag team partner, Chris Casanova, crazy to end your show. I'm going to end it with Cut It Out.